Not long ago, I came into contact with an artist from Washington named Infinexhuma. Infinexhuma basically means infinitely exhumed. The project has its roots which date back to about 2013, and the first album was released in 2016. It's called Chaotic Depth. But it was released just digitally and unmastered, so I think the artist sort of sees this as more as a demo than the actual first album. But then flash back to May of 2000 this year when the artist released, I would say, his true debut album called Crossing. Crossing follows the afterlife of a physically manifested spirit which has been detached from its human host after suicide. So basically the whole theme of the album is this spirit which is in this transitional phase, having just left its human host and now seeking the afterlife. Throughout the course of this record, Infinexhuma basically takes you on this journey that feels both human but also, I would say fantasy, but in a non-hokey kind of way. It just takes you to this sort of magical kind of world, I guess. And it's not like, it just, I don't know, when you kind of bring that concept to mind, it really sounds like the perfect soundtrack. You can sort of just imagine this sort of, I don't know, like this sort of like gleaming ball of light just kind of traversing the landscapes as it makes its way through forests, down rivers, up mountains, down mountains, and over hills and everything until it finally finds its true resting place, which is, you know, whatever the afterlife is. I mean, the afterlife is, you know, different in every man's mind, but, you know, this is, the spirit is trying to find that place, and who knows, I mean, maybe when we do die, we do have to search that place out. Maybe it's not just presented to us in, you know, in the kind of like, the way like the Bible and all the other creation books kind of, you know, presented to us. Maybe it's not so simple. Maybe it actually is this long journey we have to go on to actually get there. Me being someone that's, you know, takes a lot of inspiration from the natural world, I can kind of really get down with that concept. I mean, it really seems like a tangible thing where, like, when we die, we do have to go on this journey to find what, you know, the afterlife is. And the afterlife is, you know, different in every man's heart. It could be anything, you know, everyone's different. So, and that this spirit, it has to find that afterward, and that's the whole thing with this album. It's really interesting, and I mean, I don't think I've ever really come across that theme in dark ambient music, or really music in general, so it's a pretty unique thing. Musically, this record is just rich with field recordings, and it's all these recordings are made in the natural, and it just, as you journey through this album, you get to, you know, hear all these natural field recordings. It really takes you to that place. You can just close your eyes and drift away to that place. And I mean, I've already done that a number of times now, just listening to this album when I'm relaxing, when I'm reading something, you know, when I'm just passing to sleep. It really takes me to this special world. And, you know, like I always say, there's not a lot of albums that can do that, but this is, you know, a self-released new artist who's doing it, and that's really awesome. So to me, that says this guy's really onto something special, and he's really just taking his time and coming at, you know, taking that all in, just, you know, at his time, making sure everything's perfect before he releases music, which is great. There's also a lot of really great piano melodies on this record. I mean, nothing that sounds like super complex to my ears, but it just really accents the record great, and it just really adds this sort of, I don't know, just really peaceful and just lovely kind of sound to the album. It's very much, you know, reminiscent of, I would say, like some of the pianos you'd see in like a North Haunt record or something like that. You know, it's also, of course, you know, there's a lot of the, you know, the dark droning soundscapes, but the record itself isn't really dark in like that sort of like nightmarish way that we're kind of more accustomed to in dark ambient music. No, I mean, I would say this record actually has more of that sort of like post-rock feeling where it's like kind of like bleak, but also there's always that like looming optimism, and you really get a lot in that record. And I mean, it makes sense too when you take the concept in mind that it's, you know, a soul that just left its host after suicide, and it's slowly getting closer to its goal, which is the afterlife. Crossing is a really great record, and I mean, this is the album, like I said, just takes you through snowy fields, up mountains, down mountains, over hills, and far beyond. You know, it's just, it's great. I love it. I mean, it's been a really long time since I came across a self-released soul artist that just really blew me away this much, but I mean, I'm glad, thanks to like social media, you know, I was able to get in contact with this guy. You know, it's great. I mean, we actually came into contact via Instagram. I had sort of noticed this guy was always liking my posts on Instagram, and I just looked at his profile one day, and I was like, oh, he makes music, and I started to listen to it, and I really liked the first two songs, and then I got in contact with him and asked him if he wanted to do a trade for my first album called Back to the Mud, and he, much to my surprise, was actually very familiar with my music, but he wanted to do the trade, which is great, and since then we've formed a nice friendship, and I think we're going to collaborate on some stuff in the future too. So it's really exciting. I mean, that's just one of the great things I like about the dark ambient community too. There is a lot of brotherhood, a lot of there's no. I don't really detect much arrogance or not one single person trying to lead the scene so much. Really, it's a lot of people got each other's backs. A lot of people motivate each other. And that's really great because you don't really get that in you don't really get that in heavy metal too much. There's always so much division, but that's the thing about heavy metal. There's always so many topics discussed and everything, it's, I don't know. And people have always the opinions of what a metalhead is supposed to look like and all that kind of stuff. So, whatever, that's another story entirely, of course. But, like I was saying, there's a lot of great brotherhood and dark ambient music. And it's great that, in nowadays technology, we can come into contact with each other. We can give each other props on our music. We can collaborate easily and just, be friends, so it's really great. So Crossing is a self-released affair, and the first thing that really struck me about this record is that for a self-released album, it is extraordinarily professional. I mean, the packaging comes in this wonderful digipack with a pull-out booklet, which we'll get to in a minute. It is on a CDR, but, it's got the disc print, so who really cares? I mean, I'm not really so anal about it as long as it's actually on a physical medium, which it is. The digipack looks great. It's also mastered by Robert Rich, who some of you probably know. I mean, he's a pretty legendary dude in the experimental electronic and ambient, dark ambient scene. I mean, that's a guy that's been going at it for, 25, 30 years probably, so it's really cool. So, I mean, the mastering and just the sound's going to be really spot on. Editing some of the earlier segments of this episode, I kind of realized I wasn't really doing a good job of showing the artwork. So from here on, I want to just really make sure I'm showing a good close-ups of the artwork and everything. And since the artwork and photography of just the whole lay of the album is so good, I wanted to make sure everyone saw it. So here's the front cover of Infinexhuma's album, The Crossing. Opening up the digipack, there's the CD. Underneath the CD, see it's made out to Noctilucant and from Infinexhuma. And this side of the digipack, there's a bio that kind of just guides you through the whole concept of the story and what's going on, and a little bit of what the artist has done in the past. Back cover, of course, with all this track listing. And it has this really nice pull-out booklet, which has a slew of really great photos in it. There's the front. Of course, all of these photos were taken in the Pacific Northwest area, which is where Infinexhuma calls home. A really great layout. I mean, for a self-released album, like I said, I would say that's about as pro as you can get. I mean, that looks like just like something you'd see on any professional label, if not even better. As a final thought, like I said, I'm pretty blown away by this album. I know he's already working on a second album, and I am very much looking forward to that. But in the meanwhile, this album will continue to get lots of plays from me. I know that for sure, and you should definitely look it up on Bandcamp. I mean, he's selling it for only $10, and I mean, this is, as I said, super professional, right down from the music to the layout to the mastering. The packaging is great. So I mean, definitely one of the better albums I've heard in the past several months. And I mean, if you're into just really posty, dark ambient music, this is a record I think you're really going to get into. I mean, this is unique stuff, and I love it. I mean, it's great. So that is Infinexhuma's Crossing.